I played a lot of new cozy games in the month of August, and in today's video, I'm gonna be reviewing all of them. Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Payton. It is nice to meet you, it is nice to see you, and welcome to the corner. It's once again my very favorite time of the month, the end of the month here in the corner, where we wrap up and recap every game we played this month. August was an amazing month for cozy gaming, and I can honestly say some of my favorite games of the year I played this month. In case you're new to my review series, I do this every single month where I review every game that I played in the month we just finished. I like to call these first impressions reviews because in my endeavor to cover as many games as I can, I definitely can't play each game for a super amount of time or finish them all the time. So I like to play each game just enough to give you my first impressions, and I like to present it to you in a way of giving you my pros, my cons, and my overall thoughts for each of the games as far as my first impressions went. As always, I like to let you know that some of the games in today's video were gifted to me. Actually, all of them but one were gifted to me this month, so thank you so much to the different game developers and publishers for sending me over some keys to check out your game. But as always, just because I'm gifted a game does not change how I feel about it, but for full transparency, I will let you know which games were gifted as we get through it. Before we get into it, please be sure to click the lovely little like button, as well as subscribe for more cozy, chaotic content. And if you want to see me play cozy games live, including many of the games that are on this list, be sure to check out my live streams, which are right over here on YouTube, and I do them several times a week. Okay, I will shut up, let's get into this month's reviews. Starting out, just like last month, we have a few games that actually came out the month prior, but they came out at the end. So I had to sneak them in this video, okay? Shh. They came out in July, but I played them in August, so it still counts as an August review, I think. The very first game on the list is called Koa and the Five Pirates of Mara. And Koa and the Five Pirates of Mara came out for Nintendo Switch and for PC on July 27th. I played it on PC, and it was very kindly gifted to me, so thank you so much to Chi-Big Studio and Keymailer for the key to check out the game. Koa and the Five Pirates of Mara is a 3D platformer adventure game where you explore the islands of Mara. In the game, you'll need to outwit traps, explore the ocean, maneuver dangerous environments, and have fun in 8 different wild worlds on the quest to recover stolen pirate loot, all while getting to meet vibrant characters along the way. Now that I've told you a little bit about the game, let's get into my pros for Koa and the Five Pirates. My biggest pro for Koa is its nostalgic platformer vibe. It totally succeeds in bringing you back to old school 3D platformers, but it still keeps it feeling current and also very cutesy and cozy. In particular, I really love the different skills Koa can use to explore. They're not overly complex, but there's just enough that it isn't overly simple. And I found that Koa herself is a really cute character to explore as, though Napopo is probably my favorite. And going off of that, all of the characters look really great in the game. It's a small detail, but I also really love the way that Koa walks. She's always got this kind of cute, happy bounce to her, and I think it is absolutely adorable. And another pro is that the game has a relaxed mode if you really don't want to get stuck on tricky platforms. As far as I've explored, the relaxed mode just gives you extra checkpoints, so you don't need to start the level over if you fall. I kinda like this because you still need to figure out how to get through the platform. It doesn't make that part any easier, but it makes it so you don't have to keep starting from the beginning, which can be rage-inducing. As for cons, I don't really have a whole lot. Koa is pretty much everything I expected it to be. It's a short platforming adventure. There is a storyline, but it's pretty simple, and honestly, I didn't find myself caring a whole lot about the plot. I feel like the dialogue was sometimes really repetitive as well, and really, I just found myself wanting to just get back to the platforms. Other than this, the only other con I have is that while Koa's little bouncing walk is cute, in this game, you definitely need to hold the run button for most of it, as Koa's main pace is a little bit slow. Overall though, I did really enjoy Koa and the Five Pirates of Mara. I do think it succeeds in being a cozy platforming game. It's a bit simple, Not overly complicated, but it definitely gives you good vibes, and I definitely enjoyed my time with it. The next game on the list is called Cornucopia, and Cornucopia came out for PC for early access on July 31st, so because of that, I obviously played it on the PC. And this one was also very kindly gifted to me, so thank you so much to Subconscious Games for providing me the key to check this one out. Cornucopia is a 2.5D farming adventure game, where you get to farm using an innovative compost system, create 200 plus recipes, and connect with 50 plus NPCs, all of which are wildly specific and full of life. There's also festivals, mini-games, and even rare cards to collect along the way. Pretty much, it's a game that'll let you farm, raise a family, and cherish your pets while you're trying to remember who you were before you got here in the first place. Now that I've told you a little bit about the game, let's get into my pros for Cornucopia. My biggest pro for Cornucopia is that I really love the 2.5D art style. It really is the perfect balance, and I love that it's customizable. I've personally never played a game before that lets me pick how much I want to tilt my view, which I found to be super interesting. I also really enjoyed all of the NPCs, and it's clear that they are definitely full of life and certainly not boring at all. The portrait styles are really beautiful as well, and every time I got to meet a new character, I was very excited. Another pro I have for Cornucopia is the tutorial style. For a farm sim, they do a really great job of spelling out how to play the game, while also giving you the chance to figure things out on your own as well, which honestly, I can't say that's true about most farm sims. And another pro I have is that I love that there are different mini-games. They're all really fun and unique, and the fishing mechanic in the game is super unique because it's unlike any fishing I've ever seen in a farming game. I think my biggest pro out of everything though are the different cards you get to gather. Some cards you find are kind of like skill points, and you can use them to help you with things like gaining rarer items. But then, there are also these scratch-off cards you can find, and they will give you access to new recipes and other fun items. I really love that the collecting is a game in itself. And while I haven't gotten super far in this game's story, the main storyline of this farming sim is unlike any other that I've ever seen. It's definitely very interesting, and you need to check it out for yourself to see why. Now that I've told you about the pros, let's get into the cons for the game. I actually don't really have many so far. I think farming sims, and I say this every review video every month, farming sims are the hardest ones to make first impressions about because it's hard to get a sense of everything in the game after only a few hours. Farming sims you really gotta put a lot of time into, I feel, to see everything that there is. But with my short time playing Cornucopia so far, I've genuinely enjoyed most of it. The only criticism I think I have is that the days seemed to go by pretty fast, but that could also be because there was a lot I wanted to do in the game. Overall, I think that this farm sim has a lot of content in it. You can tell a lot has gone into the creation of the game, and it doesn't really feel like an early access game to me, so far at least. And by that I mean, it doesn't feel very unfinished at all, and it feels like there's already a lot in it. So it makes me even more excited to keep exploring what's already in Cornucopia, and makes me even more excited for what's left to come. The next game on the list is called Flutter Away. Flutter Away came out for PC and Nintendo Switch on August 3rd. I played it on PC, and I was very kindly gifted this one, so thank you so much to Runaway Play for the key to check out the game. Flutter Away is a cozy, short, nature exploration game where you'll get to enjoy the serenity of the Amazon rainforest. As a butterfly researcher on a 5-day camping trip, you'll need to explore nearby tracks, take photos, meet animal friends, and journal the discoveries you find along the way. Now that I've told you a little bit about the game, let's get started with my pros for Flutter Away. My biggest pro for Flutter Away is the cozy atmosphere it creates. This one is unquestionably a relaxing experience. Its visuals and its music really lend to a take as much time as you want to explore kind of vibe. Specifically, I really love the capybara in the game, as well as not getting to just learn about butterflies, but also the plants around you as well. And I also really like the component of being able to put the butterflies on a perch to get a closer look at them to really enjoy their beauty. Now that I've told you about the pros, let's get into the cons for Flutter Away. My biggest con for Flutter Away is that it's very short and it's very simple. The area you have to explore is very small, and the game only lasts a few hours. While I did enjoy it, I did kind of feel like I was just walking back and forth a lot to see if I could distinguish a new butterfly from the previous one, which oftentimes I had a little bit of trouble with. Flutter Away is a short, but a very sweet game, and definitely created a relaxing and cozy vibe. Now the next game on the list, safe to say, is the biggest cozy game of the month, and you probably already know what it is. This game is called PALIA. PALIA is currently available in beta form. It started out this month in closed beta, now we're in its open beta, so technically the game isn't fully released yet, but I wanted to include it in today's list anyway. And PALIA is currently only available on PC, but will be coming to Nintendo Switch during the holiday season. I, of course, have been playing on PC, and this is a free-to-play game, but I was technically gifted it because I am a part of the PALIA Creator Program. This doesn't mean I'm getting paid to endorse PALIA, doesn't mean I'm sponsored by them. What this means is I am a part of a group of creators that gets a little bit of PALIA news before you guys get it, so that I have enough time to make content on all of the news before it drops. That being said, even though I'm in the creator program, you will still be getting a pros and a cons from me about PALIA. But before I do that, let me tell you about the game in case you're unfamiliar. PALIA is a free-to-play, cozy MMO game, which means massively multiplayer online, in case you're new to this type of game, and it takes place in a world where humans no longer exist. Well, until now, and you play as one of the newly re-emerged humans along with all of the other in real life players. In the game, you'll have to discover the secrets of what happened to ancient humans, along with building a home, tending to a farm, crafting, cooking, fishing, bug catching, hunting, and getting to know, and potentially romance the NPCs around town. Like I said, the game is just in its open beta, so we don't have all of the information about the full game yet, but right now there are 2 major areas to explore, tons of shops, items to collect, and a lot of quests to embark in. Admittedly, like I said about the farming sims, I'm gonna say about this one, I feel like you need a lot more hours in the game to really see everything. So this is definitely a first impressions because I haven't gotten super far in, but I have played the game for several hours and I do have some thoughts. Starting out with my pros for PALIA. My favorite part about PALIA is probably the opportunities for customization and how the world looks. While I haven't gotten to decorate so much yet, I have seen so many fun items that you can craft and also purchase to decorate with. And I also really enjoy running through the world. It is definitely beautiful to look at, and although there's only a few areas to explore right now, there definitely feels like a lot to explore right now. I also really enjoy the NPCs. They definitely feel full of life, and I really love how they're animated. I thought maybe I would miss a 2D portrait to accompany the 3D graphic style, but the way that the characters are animated, I actually don't miss the portraits at all. And I also enjoy that you get a nice amount of dialogue options when you talk to the NPCs. They definitely don't feel like lifeless NPCs, unlike other farming sim games of this kind. I also really love the fishing in the game. It's not overly complicated, but it's not too easy either. You pretty much just need to make sure the fish stays in between the parentheses by moving back and forth. And bug catching is pretty cool too, because in this one, you actually use these like bombs to catch the bugs rather than a traditional net. The farming itself is pretty unique as well, because it's definitely a more slow-paced vibe and it feels very satisfying. I also really love in the game whenever you craft, you unlock more recipes. It makes grinding for resources to craft things even more fun and very rewarding. And speaking of resources, I also really enjoy that you can request items from other players in the game, which I think is a super fun component that makes the multiplayer aspect feel really alive. I will say my most used and probably favorite part of the entire game though is the beam of light that you can use to track locations, as this has saved me a little too much. Going off of that, the beam of light, let's start out with my cons for PALIA. I get lost a lot. I get lost a lot, and while I know some of it is me, I also have to critique the game as well. I don't love the compass system. It's not my personal favorite. I'm so thankful for the beam of light because I just have a little bit of difficulty navigating this one. Another con I have for PALIA is the lack of a more dedicated mine. There are mines, but there kinda aren't. There are mines you can go in, but there really aren't like rocks for you to hit, and I just feel like having a dedicated mine system similar to other farming sim games would be really fun in this one. Another con for me personally is the hunting. I do enjoy that the hunting is not very graphic and the animals just kind of like poof when you hit them, but at least in the beginning of the game, you have to hit them twice to get the items from them and for them to poof away. And after the first hit, they do run away like really scared. And I'm sure this does not matter to most people. I'm giving you my first impression, and for me, for this otherwise very cozy feeling game, this aspect takes me out of the coziness a little bit, and I feel like hunting is probably one of the better ways to make money in the game. So I do engage in it, but I do struggle with it a little bit. And the only other con I have is that the progression of the game just feels a little slow. It's not overly slow for me, and I don't really mind the large amount of questing and the grinding, but I do think some other players that are more used to a more fast-paced farming sim might find this one to be a little slow. And the only other major con I have about PALIA, I made a whole separate video about, and that is the premium shop being a little bit pricey. Now, in my dedicated video that I made about the PALIA shop, I feel like I was pretty neutral. I was like, I don't really mind the microtransactions, but also I think they're expensive. While it doesn't bother me like aggressively about the microtransactions, I would say in their current state, the premium shop in its entirety is a con for me. I feel like it's a great opportunity to give bonus content to people who are willing to pay. I just think it could be structured a little bit better, and I talked about some ways I think could make it better in my other video, so be sure to check that one out if you haven't already. Overall though, I feel like there is a lot in PALIA, and it's just the beta. I feel like I haven't even explored a fraction of it, so this is definitely the first impressions of the first impressions. I feel like it isn't a beta sometimes, like I feel like there is so much in it, but then other times I do feel like the world is a little bit more empty than I think it could be. So I think it's somewhere between, yes, it feels like a beta we're still working on, and no, it doesn't because there's so much stuff. Mainly, I'm really interested in exploring this one further. I enjoy playing it so far. I am really liking it. So I am very curious to get further into the game to see what else there is left, as well as to see what updates are coming out soon and how this game is going to get even better, hopefully. Now, the next part of the video, the final 3 games I'm going to talk about, for Payton's Corner first, I'm going to let you know that the next 3 games are not suitable for all audiences. All 3 of these remaining games deal with very mature themes, and I would recommend them for people either 16 plus or 18 plus, and all of the games have content warnings right on their Steam page, so you can check them out more specifically to hear why they're considered mature. That being said, I will still be presenting my review in a family-friendly way so that everyone can watch and enjoy it, but just note, if you're a kid, you probably shouldn't play these. Let's get started with the first game. The first game is called VIDEOVERSE. VIDEOVERSE came out for PC on August 7th. That's how I played it, though I also played this one a little bit on my Steam Deck, and I think it ran pretty okay on the Steam Deck. You just had to like rework some things a little bit. And this one was also very kindly gifted to me, so thank you so much to Kinmoko for sending me a key to check out the game. VIDEOVERSE is a decision-based narrative adventure focusing on character development, friendship, and love. In the game, you play as Emmett, a young video game fan and aspiring artist. In the game, you'll dive into a fictional video game era where the Kinmoku Shark gaming system and its online social networking site, VIDEOVERSE, were still popular. In the game, you'll get to strengthen Emmett's friendships, share fan art, and browse the lively gaming communities, and make decisions that will change how Emmett grows, his approach to Videoverse, and ultimately, the final outcome of the story. You'll need to figure out if your actions will help Videoverse thrive, or will you get caught up in teenage drama, video game fandoms, and even corporate conspiracies. Now that I've told you a little bit about Videoverse, let's get into my pros for the game. My biggest pro for Videoverse is the aesthetic. This game absolutely nails early internet nostalgia. And I really love that you can utilize and unlock different themes for Videoverse that will completely change the color palette. Each one is somehow better than the last, and since this is a game where you're looking at a fictional computer screen the whole time, the option to change everything up is super refreshing. I also really enjoy the story of the game. This game does an amazing job of creating so much backstory and so much lore, and it communicates it all through chat room posts somehow. I felt very invested in the characters, the state of Videoverse, and about a fictional video game that doesn't really exist. I have to say, I also really enjoyed the music in this one. It served as a great way to underscore the experience. It definitely stayed true to the nostalgic vibe, but also was very relaxing. And I also really loved the interactivity of Videoverse. All of the different chat rooms you can enter, the profiles you can look at, being able to moderate inappropriate messages, and also liking other people's posts. Now that I've told you my pros for Videoverse, let's get into my cons. I don't really have many cons for Videoverse, to be honest. A con I did experience was when I was streaming the game, I did encounter a couple bugs. Sometimes the pages wouldn't load properly, and I'd have to exit them out and then rejoin them. But when I stopped my live stream and played on my own, this didn't happen at all, so we'll fault it more towards streaming than the actual game, I think, but I wanted to mention it anyway. And I also will say sometimes I felt like I was looking for the next interaction that would progress the story. At first, I definitely wasn't taking the time to really read every post and find every single interaction point I could, but the game kind of forces you to do that. Playing further on, I totally get why they want you to really interact with everything, but I did feel in the beginning, sometimes I did just want to get to the next big story point. Overall, this is one of the most unique games I've played of the year so far. While it is a shorter experience, it definitely is a memorable one. I think it's a hidden gem that is definitely worth exploring, especially if you're interested in early gaming and early internet nostalgia. The next game on the list is called The Cosmic Wheel Sisterhood. The Cosmic Wheel Sisterhood came out for PC and Nintendo Switch on August 16th. I played completely on my Steam Deck and it ran really great. And this one was also very kindly gifted to me, so thank you so much to Devolver Digital for sending me a key to check out the game. The Cosmic Wheel Sisterhood is a thought-provoking narrative experience all about magic. In the game, you play as Fortuna, a witch living exiled on an asteroid who forms a pact with a forbidden creature in the hopes of regaining her freedom. You'll get to reconnect with your witch friends after a 200-year-long exile, meet new witches, and use the tarot-like cards you created to pierce through their pasts and their futures. As you delve into this universe, you will see yourself immersed in the complex web of interest that surrounds your coven, leading to a political plot that will define the fate of the Cosmic Witch Society. Now that I've told you a little bit about the game, let's get into my pros. My biggest pro for the Cosmic Wheel Sisterhood is the card creator. You don't need to know anything about tarot cards to enjoy this aspect of the game, because honestly, I know nothing about them. The game will allow you to cash in on elemental energies you acquire for the opportunity to make new tarot cards. And you get to make your card by selecting from a wide range of backgrounds, focal points, and other bonus items. And each component you choose will bring a different meaning to the card. They definitely give you a lot of room for creativity here, and there's no rush on how long you take to make these creations, so I found myself really taking my time to enjoy the creative process. I also have to say, I love the art style so much in this game and the music. You really are transported to another world, and when I picked this game up, I did play it for many hours in one go. I also really enjoy the different characters in the game and how many options there are as far as your dialogue goes, and when you do the readings, you're also presented with a nice amount of options, so it does make it feel like you are in control of what happens. The dialogue and the way the story was written I also enjoyed. I didn't think that it felt repetitive at all, and it definitely kept my attention. Now that you've heard my pros for the game, let's get into my cons. As for cons, I do wish the card creator aspect gave you the option to alter the colors of the background and the items, as sometimes after I selected my 3 components, I realized the colors kind of clashed or they weren't exactly what I thought they were gonna be, so I would have loved the opportunity to take the creativity even farther. That's kind of just a little thing though. The biggest con for this game is the subject matter is very intense and can be very graphic. Now, in my several hours of playing, I did not get to experience some of the more graphic elements and tones to the game that I know come later on. The most I experienced in my few hours of playing was some spicy sexual adult talk amongst each other. That's really it. But I do know that this game goes really heavy into politics. There are some really intense death scenes, as well as it explores gender identity and gender dysphoria as well. Like I said for the last 3 games on the list, each game does have its own content warnings on the Steam page. These definitely won't be cons for everyone, as it is an emotional story, but I do mention it as a con because it means that this game won't be enjoyable to all types of players. I can't speak so much to some of the more deeper subject lines because I haven't gotten to them yet. But this is definitely a game I'm planning on seeing through to the end, so I'll be sure to keep you updated once I've played the full game to tell you what I thought about how these subjects were handled. Overall though, this game has me so intrigued and so invested. It's definitely been one of my favorite games to play so far, and it has me really excited to finish it. I don't often play games that I'm like, yes, I must 100% finish it, but this is a story that really feels like I need to see what happens near the end. And like I said, the tarot card part is just so much fun and it's so magical, and I'm interested to seeing how the rest of it goes. Now, the final game on the list. It was the only game not gifted to me this month, and the only one that I purchased on my own accord. And this game is one of my favorite games of the year so far, I'm gonna be honest. This game is called Stray Gods, the role-playing musical. Stray Gods, the role-playing musical came out for PC, Nintendo Switch, Xbox, and PlayStation on August 10th, and I played it on PC. Stray Gods is a musical adventure, story-driven game set in a modern fantasy world, where college dropout Grace is granted the power of a muse. Power she'll need to find out the truth behind her predecessor's death before time runs out. In the game, you get to decide who Grace allies with, who she romances, who she can trust, and who may betray her in this beautifully hand-illustrated role-playing musical. In the game, your choices will change the endings, as well as the path you take to get there. But mainly, you'll delve into a hidden world of mythic Greek gods and monsters, as you get to know a cast of hilarious, enigmatic, and compelling characters. Now that I've told you a little bit about the game, let's get into my pros. The whole game, the whole game is like a pro to me. I played this one on live stream. I actually played a few of these games on live stream, I will say. The part of the stream where I play Stray Gods, it's the least I've ever spoken on a stream. Usually I always am like filling the space and talking. There were so many moments where I was just so transfixed. I was just like, the whole stream because I enjoyed it that much. Let's start out with the music. The music is so good. And the fact that throughout each song, you are given different personality choices as to how you want to respond, as well as different characters to side with or go against. This means that there are not just multiple versions of the story, but there are multiple versions of every single song. And the game doesn't just give you like 1 or 2 times to make choices. You're definitely met with a lot of them. I cannot even imagine the amount of work that went into recording all of these songs so many times. Outside of the singing, the voice acting is really impeccable. The game totally transports you to somewhere else, and it does feel like you are participating in your own musical. I really love the story of the game. It is compelling, it is dramatic, it has its ups, it has its downs, and as soon as you start playing, you are hooked. I also really love the art style of the game and how each of the characters look. And mainly, I like that you can enjoy this game whether you know a lot about Greek mythology or literally nothing at all. Even though I said I like the whole thing, I do have a few cons. The main con I have is that some characters' voice acting is louder than others. So I did have to adjust my volume quite a bit between the different characters speaking or singing. I will note that I was playing this while live commentating on the stream, so this might not have been such a big issue if it was just me playing on my own and not worrying about talking and making sure everyone could hear me but still hear the characters. But still important to note that I did have to adjust quite a bit. And the only other con is not a con for me, but it could be a con for other players. It's that it's definitely more of an experience than a traditional game. You do get to make choices and interactions, but this is definitely one where you will be sitting back a lot of the time and watching and listening to like it was a musical. Overall, this is one of my favorite games of the year so far, for sure, without a doubt. I haven't even finished it yet, but I'm very excited to see how the story ends and replay it with different options. I think it's one of the most unique games I've seen in its premise, and it is an experience that I will not forget. And there you guys have it. Those were all of the cozy games that I played in the month of August and what I thought about them. Now that you've heard all about my opinions, I want to know your opinions down below. Have you played any of these games? Are you thinking about playing any of these games? And let me know what your favorite game of August was. I want to know, let me know down below. Please be sure to click the lovely little like button on your way out, as well as subscribe for more cozy, chaotic content. I also will say I live streamed quite a few of these games, so if you're interested in seeing first impressions gameplay from me or just more in-depth about them, be sure to check out my previous live streams to get a little bit more info. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next one, and bye-bye!